Put her coat back on. She's leaving with me. My mother said it loud enough that the whole dining room went quiet right as my daughter's little hands reached for the velvet box on the table. Nora's fingers hovered, confused, because the box had her name stitched in gold. It was supposed to be a sweet moment. Thanksgiving dessert, cousins sticky with pie, my husband filming on his phone. Instead, my mother slid the box away like Nora had touched a knife. "She can't have it," Mom said, lips tight, smiling like it was a joke. "Not after what your great-grandma's been doing." My sister Tessa laughed too fast. "Honestly, Claire, you know Mom's right. It's complicated." Nora looked up at me, eyes wide, waiting for me to fix it. Then my mother did the thing I still see when I close my eyes. She stood, walked to my kitchen trash can, and dropped the velvet box straight into it, not gently, like she was throwing out spoiled meat. "It's the old lady's junk," she said, still smiling. "And I'm not letting that junk poison my granddaughter." My daughter's mouth opened, no sound coming out at first. Her cheeks went pink, then pale. She stared at the trash like it might bite. I felt my body go cold. Not angry cold, survival cold. Because Nora wasn't just hurt. She wasn't safe in a room where grown women could decide, in a second, that taking something from her was for her own good. I stepped between Nora and my mother. "Get your purse," I said quietly. "You're leaving. Now." Mom blinked like she didn't recognize my voice. "Claire, don't be dramatic. It's Thanksgiving." "I'm not being dramatic," I said, and my hands were shaking so hard I tucked them under the edge of the table. "You just threw my child's gift in the trash and told her she's leaving with you. Get out." My dad stared at his plate like the pattern on it might save him. My husband, Ben, had stopped filming. His phone was halfway down, his face blank with that stunned look people get when your private family rules leak out in public. Tessa leaned forward, voice soft. "Claire, please. Mom's just trying to protect Nora." "Protect her from what?" "A velvet box?" Nora whispered. "Mommy, did I do something bad?" That snapped something in me. I crouched so I was eye level with her. "No, baby. You didn't do anything. You did nothing wrong." Behind me, my mother sighed, the way she does when she thinks I'm embarrassing her. "You always make everything a scene." I stood. "And you always make everything about control." Ben put his hand on Nora's shoulder. "We're going," he said, calm but his jaw was tight. My mother's smile thinned. "If you walk out, don't come crawling back when you realize you've been lied to." Tessa added, almost gentle. "Just let Mom handle it. She's been handling it. It's easier." "Easier for who?" I grabbed Nora's little jacket off the chair and helped her into it with hands that wouldn't stop trembling. She kept glancing at the trash can, like her heart was still sitting in there. We left in the middle of pumpkin pie. Outside, the air was sharp and clean, and my lungs finally worked again. Nora buckled into her booster seat and stared straight ahead, too quiet. In the driver's seat, Ben asked, "What was that?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have words, because the words were too big. At home, I got Nora into pajamas and put on her favorite cartoon, the one where everything ends happy in 12 minutes. She didn't laugh once. When Ben went upstairs to take a shower, I walked back into my kitchen like a thief and lifted the lid of my own trash can. The velvet box was sitting on top, smeared with coffee grounds and a piece of napkin. I pulled it out, rinsed it, dried it, and held it in my hands. The stitching spelled Nora, uneven like an old person's hands had done it carefully. I opened it. Inside was a slim booklet with bank logos, official language, and a section labeled Beneficiary. My daughter's name, my name, and one line, circled in pen, that made my skin crawl. Change request pending submitted online. I didn't know what it meant yet. I only knew my mother had panicked like the box was evidence. I set the booklet on my counter and stared at it until the cartoon credits rolled twice. Then I heard Nora in the living room whisper to herself, like she was practicing a question she was scared to ask. "Why does Grandma hate me?" And in that moment, I realized the velvet box wasn't the first thing my mother had tried to take from my child. It was just the first time she did it in front of everyone. The booklet's last page had a customer service number. At 10:17 p.m., with my house finally quiet, I dialed it. A recorded voice told me the office was closed, but the next line made my throat tighten anyway. If you believe you are a victim of fraud, hang up and call local law enforcement. I hung up. One thing kept replaying. My mother had been watching the front porch all afternoon. Twice, I'd caught her lifting the curtain like she was waiting for a delivery she didn't want anyone else to see. When the velvet box hit the table, she didn't ask what it was. She looked relieved, like she'd finally found the thing she was hunting. And Tessa's phone was already in her hand, thumb poised, like this had a script. I hid the booklet in my nightstand under Nora's old drawings and locked the drawer. For the first time in my life, my own house didn't feel private. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One line. Stop digging or you'll lose her. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Nora's face when the trash lid slammed. At 7:05 a.m., I dropped her at school with a smile that felt like it belonged to someone else. She hugged me extra tight, then ran to her classroom without looking back, like she was afraid I might disappear if she turned around. I sat in my car until the bell rang, then drove straight to Harbor Federal, the name printed on the booklet. The lobby smelled like carpet cleaner and money. I walked up to the counter and slid the booklet across like it was a coupon, trying to keep my voice steady. Hi, I said. Can you tell me what this is? The teller was a young guy with a neat tie and tired eyes. He typed in a number from the booklet, nodded once, then froze. Not dramatic, just a subtle stiffening in his shoulders, like someone had called his name from behind. He looked at me again. Can I see your ID? I handed it over. He scanned it, then stood. 1 moment, ma'am. He didn't just step away. He disappeared behind a door marked Employees Only. I waited with my hands folded in my lap, counting my breaths like a trick I learned in labor. 10 seconds. 20. A full minute. People in line started glancing at me. That curious look strangers get when they can feel something weird happening but don't know why. A woman in a blazer came out and spoke to the teller in a whisper. They both looked at me. Then the woman walked over with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Miss Harper? She asked. My stomach dropped. I hadn't told anyone my last name. Yes, I said, because lying in a bank seemed like a bad idea. Would you mind stepping into my office for a moment? I followed her down a hallway that was too quiet. She offered me a chair and closed the door. Her hands were calm. Her voice was calm. That kind of calm people use when they're trying not to scare you. Where did you get that booklet? She asked. It was in a gift for my daughter, I said. From her great-great-grandmother. She nodded, like she was filing the information under story that will end badly. Did anyone else have access to it before you? My mind flashed to my mother, standing over my trash can like a judge. Yes, I admitted. My mother and my sister. The woman's eyes flicked down to her computer screen. Okay, she said softly. Okay. I heard the click of her mouse. Then the muffled sound of a phone being picked up outside the door. A few minutes later, 2 police officers walked into the office. Not running, not aggressive, just inevitable. The first officer asked, Miss Harper? My throat went dry. Yes. He held out a small notebook. We need to ask you a few questions. I stared at the badge on his chest, trying to make my brain accept this reality. I was sitting in a bank office because of a booklet that came out of my daughter's birthday box. Have you ever opened an account here before? He asked. No. Have you ever authorized anyone to act on your behalf with Harbor Federal? No. Do you recognize the name Evelyn Rhodes? I swallowed. That's my daughter's great-great-grandmother. He continued. This account has had recent activity. Someone attempted to access it using your personal information. My heart hammered. What kind of activity? He didn't answer directly. We treat it as potential identity fraud. The bank flagged it. They requested we verify your identity and ask if you want to file a report. My mind tried to reject it. Cruel, controlling, sure. But identity theft over my kid? I heard myself say, yes, I want to file a report. He took my statement in that flat, practiced way, writing down times, names, relationships. When I said my mother, his pen paused for half a second before moving again, like even he had a hard time writing that word next to fraud. When the officers left, the woman in the blazer exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. "Thank you for cooperating," she said. "Can you tell me what's going on?" My voice cracked on the last word. She turned her screen slightly so I could see. "This is an education trust," she said. "A college savings plan opened for your daughter, Nora Harper, established by Evelyn Rhodes." The number on the screen didn't look real at first. My eyes skimmed right over it, like it was a typo. Then it hit me, $218,450.27. I sat back hard in the chair because the air in the room suddenly felt thinner. That's for Nora?" I whispered. "Yes," she said. "And you are listed as the custodian, the person who manages it until she's older." Evelyn, who smelled like lavender soap, had been quietly building my daughter a future, while my own mother called her gifts junk. The woman clicked to another page. "Here is why it was flagged," she said, and her voice went even softer. "A list of attempted actions, login attempts, password reset requests, and one line that made my vision tunnel. Beneficiary change request denied." The requested new beneficiary name was right there. Not Nora. Not me. My niece, Lila West, Tessa's daughter, my mother's favorite. I stood so fast my chair scraped. That's not possible," I said, even as every piece of my childhood clicked into place like a lock. The woman didn't argue with me. She just printed the page and slid it across the desk, the paper still warm. "Take this," she said, "and please, be careful." As I walked back through the lobby, my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. 2 words this time. "Too late?" If you're still with me, hit like and subscribe because the next part is where I realized my mother wasn't just stealing money. She was setting up a way to take my daughter. I didn't go home first. I went straight to my daughter's school. My hands were still shaking when I walked into the office and asked to update Nora's pickup list. The secretary smiled like this was normal, like moms didn't usually show up mid-morning looking like they'd seen a ghost. "Remove my mother, Diane Harper, and my sister, Tessa West," I said. "They are not allowed to pick her up, not for any reason." She blinked. "Is everything okay?" I forced my face to work. "Everything will be." Then I drove to my mom's house. Her SUV was in the driveway, spotless, like her life. I sat in my car for a full minute, staring at my own hands on the steering wheel, remembering all the times I'd told myself she was just intense, all the times I'd called her controlling and then laughed, like it was a quirky personality trait. I knocked. She opened the door in a cardigan and pearl earrings, already composed, like she'd been expecting company, like she'd been expecting me. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, voice syrupy. "I was just about to call you." That was the first off detail. She didn't ask why I was there. She stepped aside like I belonged in her house, like I still belonged in her version of my life. I walked in and held up the printed page from the bank. "Did you try to change Nora's education account to Lila?" Her smile didn't drop. It shifted. "Claire," she sighed. "Sit down. You're upset." "I'm not sitting," I said. My voice didn't sound like me. It sounded like someone who had finally found a spine. Tessa came out of the kitchen with a coffee mug, hair perfect, eyes already narrowed. "What are you doing here?" I looked at my sister and realized something else that made my stomach twist. She wasn't shocked either. "Answer me," I said to Mom. "Did you impersonate me?" Mom pressed a hand to her chest like I'd slapped her. "Impersonate? Honey, I'm your mother. I've helped you with paperwork since you were a teenager." "That's not an answer," Tessa scoffed. "You're acting like we stole from Nora. It's family money." "It's not family money," I snapped. "It's Nora's." Mom's eyes hardened for a second, then softened again. She reached for the calm voice she uses when she wants to sound reasonable. "Listen," she said. "Evelyn is old. She's confused. She doesn't understand what's fair anymore. She hand-stitched my daughter's name on a gift box," I said. That doesn't sound confused. Mom waved her hand like details were annoying. Even if it's real, it's too much to give one child and not the other. Tessa set her mug down slowly. Lila needs it, she said, like that settled everything. I laughed once, sharp. The difference is you've decided Lila deserves more. Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice like she was sharing a secret. Your daughter will be fine, she said. Ben has a job. You have a job. Lila has Tessa. And Tessa needs support. I stared at her. So you tried to steal from my kid. Mom didn't deny it. She did something worse. She justified it. We didn't steal, she said, lips tight. We corrected. We were fixing the imbalance before it became a problem. A problem for who? I demanded. For the family, she said, like she was tired of explaining gravity. If Nora has a huge account and Lila doesn't, what happens? Resentment. Fighting. You'd be responsible. My hands curled into fists. You threw the gift in my trash in front of Nora. Mom's eyes flashed. Because you're too emotional to see danger. Tessa leaned against the counter, crossing her arms. Mom's right. Evelyn uses money to control people. She's buying Nora. I felt my throat close. Or maybe she's protecting her. Mom's voice sharpened. You think you're protecting Nora by turning her against her grandmother? By calling the police? I didn't call the police on you, I said. The bank did, because someone tried to pretend to be me. Mom's mouth tightened. You let them make it a criminal thing. You made it a criminal thing, I said. For the first time, Mom's mask cracked. Her eyes went cold. If you keep this up, she said, you will regret it. And then she said the sentence that ended something in me for good. I can still get custody, she whispered. You're not stable when you get like this. I stared at her, the room tilting. She wasn't just after the money. She'd been laying groundwork. All those little comments over the years. Claire's anxious. Claire gets overwhelmed. Claire can't handle stress. All said with concern. All said in front of teachers, neighbors, doctors. I'd laughed them off like jokes. They weren't jokes. I took a step back. Don't come near my child, I said, voice shaking now. Not with fear rage. Not at school. Not at my house. Not ever. I turned and walked out before I did something that would give her the story she wanted. In my car, I called Ben. Pick Nora up early, I said. Right now. And don't tell anyone. What's happening? He asked. I'll explain later, I said. Just do it. I drove home, heart pounding. Then there was a knock at my door. Not my mother, not my sister. Evelyn, 92 years old, steady, standing on my porch like she'd walked out of a different era. Beside her was a man in a suit holding a folder. Evelyn looked past me into my house, then back at my face. They told you, didn't they? She said. Not a question. My mouth went dry. The bank called you? She nodded once, and I don't like what I heard. The man in the suit offered his hand. I'm Mr. Lang, he said. Evelyn asked me to come. Evelyn stepped inside, eyes sharp. Where's my girl? She asked. As if Nora already belonged to her in the only way that mattered. Love. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A notification from the school app. Nora Harper checked out by Diane Harper. My blood turned to ice. I didn't breathe until Ben's name popped up on my screen. He answered on the first ring, voice tight. I'm at the school. They called me. Your mom tried to check Nora out. Did she get her? I asked, already grabbing my keys. No, he said. They wouldn't release her. Your update went through. My knees went weak, right there in my hallway, with Evelyn watching me like she could read every thought on my face. I sank onto the bottom step. Thank God, I whispered. Evelyn's mouth pressed into a line. So she went there anyway, she said. Not surprised, just disappointed, like she'd finally accepted what kind of people my mother and sister were. Mr. Lang opened the folder at my kitchen table. Evelyn sat across from me, hands folded, posture straight. For someone in her 90s, She had the energy of a woman who had waited a long time to say exactly what she was about to say. The bank told me someone tried to change the beneficiary, Evelyn said. To your sister's child. I nodded, throat tight. Evelyn's eyes glistened for a second, then sharpened. I raised a son, she said, meaning my father. I thought he had a backbone. I was wrong. My stomach dropped. Evelyn, She lifted a hand. You did nothing wrong. You're the one who acted like a mother. Mr. Lang slid a document toward me. This is an identity theft report copy, he said. And these are the account summaries you were shown. Evelyn tapped the velvet box, which I'd placed on the counter like a fragile artifact. That gift wasn't just a box, she said. It was a test. My eyebrows knit. A test? She nodded once. I've watched Diane for decades. Always smiling, always helping, always somehow ending up with everyone's information in her hands. She looked at me. When you had Nora, I worried. Not about you, about them. I swallowed. So you set up the account. I set up the account, she confirmed. But I also set up safeguards. Custodian is you. Secondary custodian is my attorney, not your mother, not your sister. They can't touch it without triggering alerts. And it triggered, I whispered. Evelyn's jaw clenched. Yes, Mr. Lang cleared his throat. To be clear, he said. The attempted beneficiary change was denied. Nothing moved. Relief hit me so hard I almost cried. So Nora's money is safe. For now, Evelyn said, and that for now landed like a warning. She leaned forward. Claire, I'm not pressing charges, she said. My chest tightened. Why not? Because courts take time, she said simply. And while you're busy fighting, they'll keep trying. Quietly. Through other doors. She looked down at her hands, then back up. Also, it's family. I waited for her to soften. She didn't. Her voice cracked instead. But I am heartbroken, she said. And I am done. Mr. Lang pulled out another packet and set it on the table. Evelyn spoke like she was reading weather. I had planned to leave my estate to be split fairly. I believed in fair. She looked at me, eyes sharp. Then your mother and sister showed me what they do when they think nobody's watching. My palms went damp. Evelyn, she cut me off with a small shake of her head. Diane gets nothing, she said. My breath caught. Your father gets nothing, she continued, and the way she said it made it clear this wasn't about punishment. It was about consequence. He has watched her for years and called it peace. I stared at the table, feeling grief for a man who never chose me loudly enough to matter. Your sister gets nothing, Evelyn said. My mind flashed to Tessa's face in Mom's kitchen, the way she'd talked about my child like an equation. My hands shook harder. Evelyn's expression softened just a fraction. Lila is not at fault, she said. She is a child. Mr. Lang nodded and slid forward a page with numbers and boxes. I am setting aside a locked investment fund for Lila, Evelyn said. It will be accessible when she turns 21. Not before. Not to her mother. Not to your mother. I whispered. You're protecting her too. I'm protecting the child, Evelyn said. Not the adults who use children as excuses. Then Mr. Lang turned another page, and my lungs stopped working. The remainder of the estate property, accounts, life insurance, everything was listed under a trust. Beneficiaries, Claire Harper and Nora Harper. Total projected value, $1,340,000. I stared until the numbers blurred. Evelyn, that's a lot, she finished for me. Yes, my eyes filled. Are you sure? She reached across the table and took my hand with surprising strength. I'm sure, she said. But you will keep it quiet. No victory laps. No telling your mother. No telling your sister. They will smell money like smoke. Mr. Lang added, the trust is structured to be very hard to challenge, but challenges still happen. Evelyn's gaze held mine. They will come back, she said. Not because they miss you, because they miss what they think you owe them. A sound came from my front porch footsteps, then the jingle of a familiar key. My stomach dropped. I hadn't given my mother a key in years. Ben and I had changed the locks last spring, so why did someone outside still think they could unlock my door? The knob turned anyway. And on the other side, my mother's voice called out, cheerful as ever, "Claire, I know you're home." Evelyn didn't flinch. Mr. Lang's pen stopped mid-note. I mouthed to them, "Stay here," and moved toward the entryway like my body knew this drill. The knob rattled again, impatient. Then a new sound metal scraping like someone was sliding something thin between the frame and the latch. A credit card trick. A break-in trick. My mother wasn't calling from the porch anymore. She was trying to get in, and she was doing it like she had every right. I didn't open the door. I didn't even speak. I hit record on my phone and stood close enough to the wood to hear her breathing. "Claire," my mother called again, sweet as syrup. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to fix this. For Nora." For Nora. She said my daughter's name like it was a key. Evelyn came up behind me, small but solid. "Don't let her in," she murmured. "She'll turn your house into her courtroom." Outside, the scraping started again, metal on frame, like someone was trying to slide something thin between the latch and the door. I swallowed hard. "Why are you doing this?" I called. My mother's voice turned instantly wounded. "Because the school told me you removed me. Because you're spiraling, Claire. A good mother worries." Mr. Lang stepped beside me, calm. "If she forces entry, call the police." My mother heard him and snapped. "Who is that? Are you letting strangers around my granddaughter?" Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Strangers," she whispered. "That's rich." I tapped 911. The moment my mother heard the operator, her tone changed lower, sharper. "Hang up," she hissed. "Don't do this." I didn't hang up. By the time the officer arrived, my mother had backed away from the door and arranged her face into that perfect, concerned grandmother expression, like she was posing for a school newsletter. The officer watched the video on my phone, her scraping at my door. Her voice then asked her to leave the property. She did, but not before turning toward my porch camera and smiling right into it. I hadn't remembered installing a camera. Ben had, a week earlier, quietly, because even he didn't trust the way my mother said, for Nora. That night, after Nora was asleep, Evelyn sat at my kitchen table and signed the last pages with Mr. Lang. No speeches, no drama, just ink. "She'll try a different way next," Evelyn said. "They always do." She was right. A month later, my mother tried to pick Nora up again, claiming there was an emergency. The school refused. A few weeks after that, a concerned relative called for a welfare check. The officer took one look at my pantry, my daughter's clean pajamas, her homework on the counter, and left. Every attempt failed, but every attempt taught me something. My mother didn't miss us. She missed access. 3 years passed. Nora became 12 taller, louder, and finally old enough to say, "I don't like Grandma," without whispering it like a sin. We moved to a different town, not fancy, just quieter, a place where my doorbell didn't punch me in the chest. Evelyn moved into assisted living, still sharp, still stubborn, still the only elder in my life who didn't treat love like a bargain. Then, one Saturday morning, the doorbell rang. I checked the camera feed. My mother, my father, Tessa, standing on my porch like the last 3 years were a quirky misunderstanding. I opened the door with the chain on. "What do you want?" My mother's smile was wide, practiced. "Sweetheart," she said, "we found you." Tessa's eyes flicked past me into the hallway, counting what she could see. Dad cleared his throat. "We just need to talk." My mother slid into it like it was the most natural thing in the world. They'd made bad decisions. They needed temporary help. Family helps. "No," I said. The word hit them harder than any yelling ever could. My mother's smile twitched. "Claire, no," I repeated. "You tried to take my daughter's future. You tried to take my daughter." Tessa scoffed. "You're still on that?" "It was to keep things fair." My voice went steady. Fair doesn't mean stealing from a child. My mother's eyes sharpened. So you're choosing a child over your own mother, she said, like it was an accusation. I stared at her through the crack. Yes, I said, every single time. Dad's shoulders sagged. Tessa's mouth opened, ready to argue. But my mother caught herself because she knew this porch wasn't her stage anymore. They left angry, muttering family like it was a court order. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired in a way that reached my bones. So I drove straight to Evelyn's place with Nora. Evelyn was in the common room, playing cards with two women who argued like sisters. When she saw us, she stood up faster than her age should allow and squeezed Nora's cheek. "My girl," she said, and Nora actually smiled. Evelyn didn't ask what happened. She just said, "They came to you today." My stomach flipped. "How do you know?" She nodded toward Mr. Lang, who was sitting nearby with a folder on his lap like he lived there. "Because they came here first," Evelyn said. "They wanted to know if I could change it." I exhaled, sharp. "And you told them." "Irreversible trust," Evelyn said, almost amused. "I watched the hope drain out of your mother's face. It was the most honest expression I've seen on her in years." Nora shifted closer to Evelyn. "Do they hate me?" she asked, so small it barely made sound. Evelyn's gaze softened. "They don't hate you," she said. "They love what they can take. That's different." On the drive home, my phone buzzed again, unknown number. Same style as before. One last message. "Cute camera doesn't change who people believe." Ben's camera had caught my mother smiling into the lens that first night, and Mr. Lang had already traced the burner texts back to a prepaid card purchased at the same gas station near my sister's office. So I finally knew who had been sending those warnings. Not my mother. Tessa, the sister who called it fair. That afternoon, Nora asked me, quiet in the back seat, "Are we bad for not letting them back in?" I gripped the steering wheel and chose the only truth that mattered. "We're not bad," I said. "We're safe. And now I want to ask you, because this is the question that splits families and saves kids. Would you cut off your own mother to protect your child? Drop your answer in the comments. Share this story with someone who needs it. And subscribe if you believe boundaries can be love.